Hello, my name is Rinon, and today's video is going to be covering all of the announcements and the gameplay that was shown off in today's live letter covering Final Fantasy XIV patch 5.3. The letter from the producer live, part 59, just finished airing as I'm recording this video. I've just finished watching it and it was really exciting. They showed off a lot of things from patch 5.3, and on top of that they showed a whole plethora of new announcements as well, and they showed off a roadmap going from August all the way to November of this year, showing off some of the content that we'll be getting in terms of events and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it all down for you. I'm going to put some screenshots, I'm going to put some video clips so you can also get the experience and see exactly what happened in a slightly more condensed form. So let's get into it. One thing I do need to do is give absolutely massive credit to the Reddit translation team, because a lot of my sources are from there. I don't actually speak Japanese myself, so I got a lot of the translations from there. They'll be linked in the description, and the first thing that was covered in the live letter was actually the trailer for the new patch, and I am not going to talk about that here. Instead, I'm going to link that in the description as well, so you can watch it at your own leisure and enjoy it. They also confirmed that we will be getting a 24-hour maintenance coming into patch 5.3, so the day before you will not be able to play the game. So first up is a summary of the updates coming in patch 5.3. The first thing they mentioned was that there will be new main story quests, and I'm sure we were all expecting this, and as they mentioned before, this is the patch with the most voice recordings and cutscenes yet. They talked about the story being emotional, and they said maybe you don't want to make plans for the rest of the day. They also mentioned that the new beast tribe, which is the dwarves and is going to be focused on crafting, will be shown later in the live letter, and we'll cover it a little bit more then, but that's confirmation of something that I think most people predicted. There will also be additional The Sorrow of Werlit side quest content coming this patch, but there will not be an instance trial for that quest line this time. On top of that, we're going to be getting a new dungeon called the Hero's Gauntlet. Yoshi P said that it will feel much like a final battle, and you can enter it using the trust system as well. There's also going to be a new trial coming in the next patch, and there's going to be a new extreme version of that trial, but the trial itself is top secret. We are not supposed to know what it is, and we're not going to hear any more information on it until the patch actually releases on August 11th. Yoshi P mentioned about this trial that it's quote-unquote exhausting at first, and he said that it's a little bit difficult until you get used to it. Also expect to see the new 24-man Your Hard Dark Apocalypse raid coming in patch 5.3 called the Puppets Bunker. They showcase a little bit of it later in the live letter. We don't see too much. They said that there's a lot of spoilers and they want to keep it secret so that players have a great experience on patch day. They also talked about the revamp to A Realm Reborn, and of course mentioned that we will be able to fly in A Realm Reborn areas, which will be shown a little bit later in more depth later in the live letter. As I've talked about before in this channel, we're also getting the first Unreal trial this patch, which is Shiva. They mentioned that it's a new battle category and it's more of a revival of the old fights. And Yoshi P once again mentioned that the bosses will rotate for the Unreal category with patches. He said that he tested Shiva, of course, and he said, whoa, back then raid damage wasn't a cast, and he was shocked by it. So he thinks that there's going to be things that feel quite fresh and a lot of players will have forgotten and they'll find difficult. There's also going to be an update to the Resistance Weapon questline coming in patch 5.35, which is predicted to be 6 weeks after 5.3. This is going to include the new quote-unquote Eureka, which is the Bosjan Southern Front resistance fights, and it's also going to include steps to upgrading your relic weapon, and they cover this in much greater detail and even showcase a little bit of what the resistance battles are about later in the live letter. On top of this, there's going to be job adjustments coming over the next couple of patches, including Monk and Summoner, which they specifically picked out here, and we can expect to see Season 16 of the Feast coming as well. Yoshi P did mention that there are not going to be major updates to PvP this patch, but there will be small adjustments for casual matches. This next patch is going to be a major one for crafters and gatherers. The Ishgard restoration will be returning in patch 5.31. There will be more titles and achievements to grab thanks to the ranking system returning once again, and Skysteel tools updates will be coming in patch 5.35 alongside the relic quest. So there is definitely a lot to look forward to for crafter mains. They also outlined a couple of miscellaneous updates that the game will be getting in terms of quality of life, and these include the ability to join parties when already in a party with your friends. So for example, say you're in a group of 3 people and you see a party finder with 4 places in it, you can jump into that and make it a group of 7 immediately without needing to disband and join individually. There is also going to be a setting in the party finder to prevent people from joining on double classes. On top of this, you're going to be able to server hop while in a crossworld party, and they mentioned that it's going to be very easy to do hunt trains as a result of that, and there's going to be new chapters added for New Game Plus. There will also be new token exchange vendors added to major cities where you can buy old Tombstone gear automatically ready upgraded for you. So for example, you want to go and buy the eye level 270 gear from Idleshire, instead of needing to buy it from a vendor, buy the upgrade material and upgrade it, there will just be a flat out vendor selling all of those pieces of gear ready for Poetics. On top of that, there's going to be a new fashion accessories menu option added, which includes the parasols, and they're also going to add in future updates other accessories like teddy bears or cushions to sit on, things like that. The first major change that was shown off in the live letter properly was the updates that are being made to the G-Pose system. This includes a brand new sticker mode that's going to allow you to place stickers on your screen as you're taking screenshots, and they will each be an individual layer, so you can move them forward or back, you can place them on top of one another, you can place them above, below, left, right, whatever you want. You can place things like little pictures of the minions or the duty complete screen or exclamation marks or your character names, things like that. And Yoshi P specifically said it's like we're making our own Photoshop here. You can change the size of the stickers, you can rotate them, you can move them around, and generally it's supposed to be a fun little tool to allow people to customize their screenshots even more and have a lot more fun with them. You can also add things like the instance name or the area name that you're going to be taking the screenshot in, but for now there is no manual text input for this G-Pose feature, because to be honest, they don't trust us guys not to use swear words or things like that. There was also a new glamour shown off, which was like an aloha style shirt and a little skirt, which is very summery and looks really good, and you can see it on the screen now. So next they showed off the ability to fly flying mounts in a Realm Reborn zones, which is something that is new to the game with patch 5.3. You will be able to do this as soon as you have finished the Realm Reborn story and hit level 50. We got to see a new mount. Apparently it has its own background music, but it's a secret and they didn't actually tell us where you can get it from. Based on later feedback, I think it's quite obvious that this is coming from something to do with the new relic quest step. They then showed off flying through Costa del Sol, and it feels quite fresh. The textures seem to have been updated for the areas that were considered out of bounds beforehand. We also got to see another new mount, which is a mount of Construct 7, which you will have seen in the Stormblood 24-man raid series, and Yoshi P made a note that these areas were obviously not designed with flying in mind. So there's going to be some places that look like you can land, but you can't. There are also probably going to be some sound issues, so if you encounter any, please report them and they will get them fixed as soon as possible. Then they talked a little bit about the revamping of a Realm Reborn quests. They said that while it would have been very easy for them just to remove the ones that they didn't feel were necessary, they feel that if they did that, the quest line itself would have been very short. There would have only been a couple of quests in each area. So instead, they tried to actually make the quests shorter. For example, if there was a fetch quest where you had to collect 3 of an item, now you're going to have to collect 1 of them. They also made a special teleport ticket to allow you to reach the Waking Sands more quickly. Yoshi P also mentioned that there's going to be a few better looking pieces of gear equipable around the level 40 to 45 region, because he said that the Dismail Darkhold gear looked a bit weird. The next thing they revealed was an update to the free trial of the game, which I think is actually going to be a sleeper hit. So beforehand you could play up until level 35, well that cap has been increased to level 60, and it now includes the entirety of A Realm Reborn and all of its content, as well as the entirety of Heavensward, all of post Heavensward's content, and all of the new classes that were introduced in Heavensward as well, which includes Astrologian, Dark Knight, and Machinist. The starter edition of the game will also include all of these updates. Honestly, I think this is an incredible change, and I think that the trial version of the game is very recommendable now, and honestly this is a great time for your friends to test out the game and see if they might enjoy it. Next up are the adjustments to jobs. I'm not sure if this covers every single job adjustment, but the ones that we got to hear about today were that Monk is getting some major changes coming by patch 5.4. They said that they want to make Monk's Grease Lightning a trait instead, but because it'll take a lot of cost to complete it, they're going to have that as a priority by 5.4, not by 5.3. They also said that Perfect Balance's cooldown is going to be decreased and that Form Shift is going to have one form removed. Bard is going to get a pure DPS increase, including multiple actions being given potency buffs. Next up, Summoner is going to be getting a small nerf. They said that they don't think they'll be doing any adjustments that will drastically change the actual class's rotation, but the only planned change is going to be a Tri-Disaster nerf. I could see this being a case of them removing the potency, but we'll see. On top of that, Astrologian is going to get some changes as well. MP costs across the board are going to be reduced for the class. Light speed is going to be adjusted to allow only 1.5 second recasts, and the MP regen effect is going to be moved onto another skill. They also mentioned that Sleeve Draw's effect will be adjusted, so potentially we see cards giving MP regen. I'm not too sure yet. The next thing we got to see a little bit of was the 24-man raid, the Puppet's Bunker. Yoshi P actually jumped into the instance and walked around a little bit, and we even got to see a small amount of the first boss. What we can tell you about that arena is that the arena is not a square or a circle shape for once, instead it's more like a flower shape, and Yoshi P mentioned that you can fall off, so we can absolutely expect push mechanics. He also said that they wiped a lot during testing for that fight, and they adjusted it a lot before showing it to Yoko Taro because they felt it was too difficult, and even in the final version, but his comment was just, well, if we die, we die, right? We also got to have a little bit of a look at all of the new raid gear and glamour that you're going to be getting from the Nier Automata raid, and we got to see that skirt and the Aloha shirt close up, so you're going to see all of that stuff coming on the screen now. They also showed off a lot of the new items that are being added to housing in patch 5.3, as well as showcasing the new mannequins and the ability to have different races and Viera and Hrothgar mannequins. And that concluded the end of the first half of the live letter, so I'm going to showcase some of those images now, and then we're going to jump back into the second half. So the second half of the live letter kicked off by showcasing the new beast tribe being added, which is the dwarves. They are going to be the crafter specialist beast tribe for this expansion, and that race has been moved over from Calusia, where they originally were, over to Lakeland. And Yoshi P mentioned that the reason this was is because there was no more memory space in Calusia. Plot-wise, there's going to be a tragedy happening to Calusia tied to the Yorha raid, so the dwarves had to move, and we'll be able to see exactly what happens in the story. There will be mounts and other rewards from this beast tribe, and once again, it is for crafters. We're showing off a little bit of their base here. There are a large number of crafter and gatherer updates coming in patch 5.3. The first one showcased was Trial Synthesis. Trial Synthesis is unlocked at level 15. It means that you're not going to have to open any external sites to follow rotations. You may not even need to macro either. You can just trial and error in-game yourself and discover how to craft something efficiently. What it allows you to do is simulate a rotation of a craft of an item without using any materials, so that you can figure out what to do and what not to do. They then showed off the reverse lookup function, which allows you to search for recipes via the materials in your inventory. So you can click on a material and then you can see what recipes are able to craft with that specific material. It also includes recipes that you have not yet unlocked, making it even more useful. There is also going to be the option to specify the item quantity in the raw materials list. So for example, you can set the number of items that you wish to craft, say 4 sets of gloves, and it will calculate the total number of materials you need for all of those items, not just for one of them. On top of this, there's going to be the option to use quick desynth. Say if you have 50 of an item and you want to desynthesis all of them, you can now do that via quick desynth. Along this train of thought, we also got a little bit more information regarding the Ishgardian restoration, which is coming in patch 5.31. One thing that they made clear is that the items to be gathered will be changed, so there is no need to hoard crafting items from the diadem now. There is no point in doing that. There is going to be a new Sky Builder ranking, and there's going to be new items that will count towards your seasonal score. On top of this, the top rank crafters and gatherers will once again receive titles and achievements, but these will be new titles and achievements, not the same ones as before. They showed off one of the many new rewards from Ishgard Restoration. If you remember the Gaily Kittens from back in Heaven's Ward, which also had a minion of their own, there is a new Gaily Kitten minion wearing some cute attire, and that is going to be available from the crafting section as well. One thing that I think it's important to note is that it was also stated that there will be new side quests after this section of the Ishgardian Restoration is completed, and they said that it's going to be for those kinds of people who enjoyed the atmosphere and feeling of Ishgard. Next up is what I think is probably the largest section from the live letter, which is covering the new Save the Queen relic step quests. And before I cover this, I won't lie, I don't know whether it's pronounced Bozja or Bozja or what, so if I mince the pronunciation, I'm sorry, I don't know any better. So this section of the game is going to be a new large-scale encounter. You're going to be able to band together with up to 71 other players players, and you're going to assist the Bosnian resistance in their mission to rout the 4th Imperial Legion. There are going to be story quests for this, and if you want to, you can only do the story quests, and that will allow you to complete a relic. But if you want to take on the grinding and the extra challenges, you can complete additional relics or complete your relic faster. If you look at the image currently on the screen, the fortress at the back of the screen, that is your target. That's what you're going to be attacking. Interestingly, a Disciple of War or Magic class of level 71 or above is required to enter, which is interesting because it's a level 80 relic that you're working towards here. So players are going to be free to change jobs when they're inside. They're going to be free to form parties when they're inside. Players will also gain experience when using jobs below level 80, which means you've got an alternative option to level alt classes very easily. Upon entering, every player is going to be level synced to 80, which allows you to test classes that you haven't yet leveled as well, in the similar vein to Palace of the Dead, and all gear is going to be eye level synced to 430, so you do not need to be well geared for this. Mounts can be used immediately after entering, however you are not able to fly. So what do you actually do? First of all, you're going to fight against the 4th Imperial Legion and you're going to raise your metal. And with enough metal, you can talk to an NPC and you can use that to raise your resistance rank. As you raise your resistance rank, you can unlock further features that is going to help you win the overall battle. I think the next logical question is, how are you going to obtain metal? Well, there are 2 ways that you can obtain metal in this instance, which is first of all skirmishes and then critical engagements. These are the only way to obtain metal. You can't get any metal from fighting random mobs on the field. Skirmishes are basically fates. They're very simple battles. They will pop up a lot and you will use those to regularly obtain metal. When a skirmish spawns, any number of people can participate. Everybody can jump in and you will get metal based on your contribution to the battle. Players are also going to receive lockboxes, which can be appraised to receive various rewards in the exact same style as Eureka lockboxes. Critical engagements, however, are a little bit more interesting. You can liken them to dungeon or even raid bosses found on the field. They will only spawn after meeting special conditions, so you cannot just easily instantly spawn them. They will not spawn randomly either, and only a limited number of players are able to participate, with encounters ranging between 24 and 48 players, so that's either a total alliance or even 2 alliance raids at once. One thing to note is that these award a lot more metal, and they also award rewards for completion on top of the standard ones. So how do critical engagements actually flow? First of all, when you have triggered a critical engagement, all of the players on the southern front are going to be notified that one is about to happen. This is the point where you're able to request permission to join the critical engagement. You can then join the critical engagement using something very akin to the duty finder. When the period for requesting deployment ends, players will be given the option to be transported to the battlefield. Then you have a brief preparation phase, giving you time to form parties, discuss strategy, choose your classes, things like that. One thing to note is that if there are too many players that queued at once, you'll be chosen randomly on who will get to join. There are going to be a couple of ways in order to get priority in terms of participant selection, so you aren't just praying for RNG to get selected. First of all is to contribute to triggering the critical engagement itself, because then you get priority to join it. The second one is to use special items obtained on the Bosnian southern front, which will also allow you to gain priority to instantly join one. Players that do not get selected can obviously watch the critical engagement happen from the outside. They can stand there and cheer, but they cannot participate. Next up is talking about the 1v1s that were mentioned before. So these 1 versus 1 critical engagement usually follow other critical engagements. If you do particularly well, you may be invited to perform in a 1v1. For example, if you don't get hit by a single AoE in the previous one, maybe you get selected. There are also going to be new special actions for this piece of content, very similar to Logos actions, and Yoshi P says you will need them if you want to win in critical engagements. So what are these actions? They are called lost actions first of all, and they are special actions that can be only used in the southern front. They offer various beneficial effects such as healing, reviving players, things like that, and they are created from forgotten fragments that can be obtained in the field in that zone. Each crystal used to create these actions has a specific given weight, and you can only carry a certain combined amount of weight, so you have to choose which ones you want to bring with you very carefully. Yoshi P also told us how we are going to receive lockboxes in this zone, as well as shards. You can get them from skirmishes, critical engagements, and you can also get them from random field mobs in the area, so you definitely want to be grinding mobs in between fates. A couple of tidbits of information that he also provided us are the fact that you will lose metal if you die in this instance, but you can also overcap your metal before ranking up in order to pool it for future use. We also got to see the menu that you use in order to collect your lost actions. Next up, we got a little bit of information on how you're going to upgrade your resistance weapon relics. So after you gain access to this new zone, players are going to be able to accept a quest to begin collecting items to augment their resistance weapons further. The required items can be found both in and outside of the southern front, so you're not just going to be limited to this zone in order to upgrade your relic further. Yoshi P did note that it is not going to be poetics that you use in order to upgrade it outside of the southern front, and that there is a lot of effort put into the story and lore here, stories with the NPCs that participate in the front, and if you are a player who enjoys the lore in the game, you're most likely going to like this content a lot. We also got some information regarding the return of an old FF14 event, which is going to be the Yokai Watch collaboration event, but this time there's going to be new things added to it, so it's not just going to be those old weapons and mounts you can get. You can still get all of those, but they're adding new weapons and new minions for each and every one of the new jobs added to the game since the original collaboration, and they're also adding a flying Jibanyan mount, which is absolutely adorable, and I'll be honest, I'm going to grind for it. This collaboration event is going to be available from August 19th all the way until the release of patch 5.4, so that's very shortly after the 5.3 launch. We'll basically have an entire 3 to 4 month window to complete the event. The last major thing I'm going to be covering in this video is that they also released a timeline for the next 4 months in terms of seasonal events coming to Final Fantasy XIV. So first of all, on August 11th, we're going to be getting patch 5.3. And then the very next day, on August 12th, we're going to be getting the Moonfire Fair event, which is going to be lasting until August 26th. On top of this, on August 19th, we're going to be getting the Yokai Watch event once again, and that's going to be the one that was just revealed with all of the extra stuff attached to it. That's going to be available until patch 5.4 releases. Then on August 27th all the way through to September 10th, we're going to be getting the Rising event, which is the celebration of FF14's launch and its anniversary. Then, once again, all the way through in late October to late November, we're going to be getting the Make It Rain campaign, which is the Gold Saucer specific event. One thing to note here is it seems there's not going to be a Halloween event this year. Instead, the Halloween items and rewards have been added to the Make It Rain campaign this time. There was also the unfortunate announcement that both the NA and the Japanese fan fests have officially been cancelled due to things happening in the world right now. On top of that, we're going to get a notification soon that's going to determine whether the EU Fan Fest will be cancelled or not. So unfortunately, that is probably the case. I would expect all three to be cancelled. Maybe we'll get some kind of online Fan Fest instead. That would be very nice, but we'll just have to see what's announced. So there were also a couple of announcements regarding merchandising and things like that, but I'm not going to cover them in this video. So that's going to be the end for me. That was all of the core information coming from this live letter relative to FF14. I hope it was useful to you, and I hope you found some of it interesting, and I hope you're as excited as I am for the new patch, which is coming in August 11th. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this kind of video, please subscribe. It would help me so much. I've got a lot of content coming. Have a lovely, lovely day.